What's up, guys? Johnny Pipe Branch here. Facebook page, How to Stop Doing Heroin. So we're gonna bring on Big Daddy Sweasy right here. Get on the split screen. I want to give him a couple questions. I'm testing out my new mic thing. So like, if anybody has any issues with like hearing me and shit, like let me know and I'll get rid of this thing. But I'm trying it out. I'm gonna see if I can if I can hear through it and if it picks me up on the microphone and everything like that. Testing it out, but waiting for Sweezy to jump on and then we'll get it cracking. I got some questions I could ask him, and yeah, we'll go from there, man. So we're just waiting for him to get on. A lot of cool shit happened today. I went down to their Earl van came over and we busted it down for a minute. I shared my entire fucking story right on his page. I see I got my boy Steve on. Steve, can you? Sounds a lot better. I think the thing's picking me up from the microphone now. I think that's cool. So we'll see what's going on. Alright, just sending the text. I'm sorry. So yeah, Joe Rudolph said who? What do you mean, Joe? But yeah, we're waiting for Sweezy to jump on here. I think he might be on my page looking for me. I'm not sure. This shit. What is going on? Alright, Sweezy's on. Big Daddy Sweasy. Send him the invite. See if he sees it. We'll try to get him on here. Oh, we're connecting.
Yeah.
There he is.
What's up, brother?
What's up, Sweezy? How you doing, man?
I'm good, brother. Just sitting out here on a. Hold up. It made me rotate my phone, so I don't want to cover the camera. Hold up. Sitting out, there's Elena right there. You spoke to her the other night. Gracie's over here. They're chopping up watermelon, and I'm filming us right now, as you can see in that window right there. I got a gimbal set up. That gimbal, you can move it around. Like here, I'll show you. It stabilizes the camera. So I don't know if you can see that. I can do whatever.
Wow.
See, that's just my other phone in there, but it's recording right now, so it'll keep it stable. It makes like studio quality video, you know what I'm saying, from a cell phone. So it's a little 150 attachment I picked up, and it'll follow your face too. So you can sit it there, and if you walk or pace a little bit, it'll turn on its own and follow your face. Blake McConnell's in the comments from the Amory King Foundation. What's up, my dude? That's Blake McConnell. He's Amory's partner. If you're familiar with Amory King, the online comedian, that's Blake McConnell's in the comments right now checking us out. So, yeah, man, beautiful Memorial weekend. Got my family. And I was just on the phone with Ryan Hetrick, a mutual friend of ours, and telling him we were about to go live. So it's all good.
Right on. Yeah, Ryan should be on. Memorial Day weekend got me, though. I got burnt bad, man. You see it?
Oh, yeah. Nah, I'm a pasty Irishman, dude. I use sunscreen every time.
Yeah, it got me bad. I had a very sobriety-filled weekend, man. I went to a barbecue, a little sober event, and then I went to a nighttime bonfire thing the other night. So I had a very sobriety-filled weekend. I just had Earl Van over, and we did some video stuff. I shared my entire story on his page, and I did a high-definition interview with him the other day. So a lot of things going on, man. A lot of sobriety-involved things, dude. It's pretty cool.
My sponsee, Stanford's in here right now. First dude to ever ask me to sponsor him. I was like, maybe a year, maybe less than a year sober or whatever, and this dude walks up, this white dude with his big old afro out to here, dog. Like, just curly hair, poof, all the way out. And he rolled up and asked me to sponsor him, and we've been doing it ever since. I just had the honor and the pleasure of handing him a 4-year token in January, this past January. So it's kind of like my sponsor hands me my 5, and then I pass mine on to Stanford, who's in the comments right now. But I'm having a little trouble hearing you, Johnny. Ask anybody else in the comments having an audio issue?
Yeah, I've been having a lot of trouble with things. I was trying to test out this new little microphone thing. It's like when I bring somebody on the split screen, it like their voice, their volume goes way up and mine go way down. I'm not sure, it's driving me nuts really with all that. But if you can hear me good enough, it'll I don't know. I guess it'll be all right. We'll have to make do. But
yeah, all right. Everybody share it up, man. Everybody hit the share button and hit the heart button, hit the like, or hit the angry button. It helps our algorithm just as much when you hate as it does whenever you love. So hit the love button or hit the angry button. Make the faces fly. Let's get some people in here. Let's get it. So what's up, man?
Not much, man. If we want to go through, some sobriety questions and stuff like that. I mean, I asked you before, like, what do you do about, how do you deal with resentments and how do you stay free from them?
So resentments, how do I deal with them and how do I stay free from them? I was taught, Johnny, that every problem I have is a step 1 problem. Okay. I go back and I change out the word alcohol or addiction, however you do it. If you're a step work type person, every problem I have is a step 1 problem. I arrive at powerlessness, right? Powerless over other people, how other people act. I'm powerless over other people's actions, things like that. So that's the first thing. I have to arrive. One of the biggest things that, of course, one of the biggest resentments you can catch, one of the easiest resentments you can catch is relationships, right? Arrive at power. Somebody at your job talk to you in traffic, you off in traffic or talk. You have to arrive at least one and realize. And usually when people are difficult, try to change them and try to get them to see things your way. It's almost, when someone's emotional, it's almost like dealing with 2 resentful people and you're trying to convince the other person to see it your way. It's almost like trying to get somebody to switch sport teams. You can't hear me, Johnny? You got nothing? Johnny can't hear me, y'all. Let's.
Okay. Yeah, there we go. The whole Bluetooth thing just totally shut out on me. I just shut
that's
it
all
off.
good. Bill Jarvis is watching. Susan Boosie. I hope I'm saying her name right. Brandon Mosley. There's a lot of Ryan Hoffman, Patrice Foster. What's up? Josh Lamb's in the comments. So what's up, Steven Sunquist, my brother from All In Behavioral Health. Can you hear me now, Johnny?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right. I might want to switch seats, dude. It might make a better lighting for me if I switch around a little bit. I don't know. Hold up. I got to turn my other camera now. Yo. All right. So you were asking me about resentments and how I deal with them. And I don't know if you heard it or not, but I immediately got to arrive at step 1 with my resentments, right? I'm powerless over other people, their actions, whatever. And one of the biggest resentments, easiest resentments I can catch, or anybody can catch, is in a relationship, right? I mean, that's 2 people on top of each other all the time, dealing with kids, whatever it is. One of those real easy ones is in a relationship. And arriving at step 1 and realizing that I was saying this whenever you were waving to me, you couldn't hear me. I'll say it again, though. Whenever 2 people are emotional and arguing, or you're resentful and you're dealing with another resentful person, getting them to see it your way is almost like asking someone to switch sporting teams, right? Like, Elena's a Kentucky fan. I'm a Louisville fan. No matter what, I think Kentucky sucks. She thinks Louisville sucks. And we're never going to change that. And that's the way that a resentment works with 2 emotional people at the time. Might as well just be quiet and let it slide. I'm not that good at that either. I can say that, but I'm not that well practiced at it at this point. But another way of dealing with resentments, bro, I tell you, I'm a fellowship. I'm a 12-step guy, right? And I was reading this page. It's page 552. If anybody cares to look at it, but it says that the way you deal with a resentment, and dude, this worked like nothing. One of the things that made me a believer in the fellowship and in the step work was this worked like a charm. It said anytime you have a resentment against a person, right? You have to pray for them to have everything you would want in life, right? So there's this dude at the healing place, the homeless shelter. I know you went to a place that's like homeless shelter recovery program, right? Nothing fancy, but it gets it done, right? And Ryan was telling me about that. So there's this dude I can't stand. He gets on my nerves every time he walks by. I couldn't even stand to hear his voice. Just an annoying person. And I did what that page said, and I prayed for the dude every day to have everything I thought I wanted in life. So basically, I'm praying for this dude to have a Ferrari full of women with cash flying out of the trunk, right? You know, I'm like, in a big mansion, you know, with a helicopter. I'm praying for him. And I could actually, just like you're laughing right now, I could actually see him in my head smiling and having a good time. And very early in recovery, this worked, dude. When I was in my first few steps, this worked. You know, when I was very early, the first few 30 days or something, this process worked. I actually could see the dude smiling and having a good time. And even that early in recovery, though I hadn't been through that many steps, I found myself sympathizing with his need to enjoy himself, right? I found bro, he's just another slammed up junkie like me in here, maybe not as far along as I am, and he deserves to be happy too, whether I like it or not, whether I like the sound of his voice or not. And dude, I'm telling you, if you all don't know about that, go try that. Pray for the person. It only took 4 days. It says 2 weeks. Pray for the person, because the prayer is actually the systematic reprogramming of your thinking. I don't know that there's some entity or being listening to us, right? Jesus, Allah, Buddha, whatever. I don't know that there's some being listening to your prayer out there, stamping it valid or void, right? Pass or fail. You don't get your prayer today, right? I believe it's the systematic reprogramming of your own mind. And whenever I could seek to understand this guy, and I sat down and I prayed for him to have everything I wanted in life, and I saw him smiling and pulling out of his mansion, getting into his helicopter, whatever. And I was actually able to tolerate him in the days after that. And to this day, 5.5 years later, still not my favorite person, right? But when I see him, because we're in the same recovery community, I'm cordial with him, I'm polite to him, and I just realized that we're just two different people. So that works, right? Another thing that really helps me is, you ever hear somebody say this, Johnny? Pause when agitated.
Yes.
You've heard that, right? I'm having a lot of trouble hearing you now. I know your volume's gone away when you said yes.
I said, yeah.
Okay, there you go. Pause when agitated, right? There's another word that people leave off, or 2 words that people leave off of that. Pause when agitated or doubtful. See, doubtful is a resentment. Whether I don't know to go to work for this company or that company, am I doing things right? Did I do everything right today? Pause when agitated or doubtful, to allow that emotion and that moment to pass, right? So that's how I manage mine. And of course, my camera shut off. Of course, a 10-step inventory, man. Looking at it for that night, and also one of my biggest resentments is always against myself for the way I talk to Elena or the kids or something like that. It's just something I've done throughout the day. And just like it says in the 10th step, when you were wrong, promptly admitted it. So if Elaine and I get into an argument before she goes to work, 15 minutes after she leaves, I calm down. That emotion goes away, right? And then I can call her and say, you know what? I was wrong. I hope you have a good day. And I feel better instantly, dog. I don't, if I don't say anything about it, then I carry that resentment with me the rest of the day until we talk again, right? I'm constantly processing it in my head. And that's just what it is, man. When I promptly admitted it and then say something, then I'm freed of it. I can go on about my day. And it gets better over time. You know what I mean? It gets easier.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I can definitely relate. Like the easy ways that like I try to stay free from resentment is like to not react off of emotion, because that's a big one. Like reacting off emotion. I mean, in the moment, in the heat of it, like you can snap out over certain things and stuff like that. But I learned not to react, essentially off emotion like that just right away.
And then, like, you know, with the dealing with resentments and stuff like that, I always try to see like how I put myself in the position, you know, to be able to be dealing with that. Like, you know, if I got a problem with somebody at work or something like that, like I came down, I signed up for this job. I put myself in the position to deal with like anything that comes with, you know, being at work, you know, with this person or whatever it is. So like, you know, essentially like I put myself in the position to deal with that. And you know, that actually gave me that entire, like, you know, the entire psychic change. Like when I sat down on my fifth step, man, like that's what really made me realize like why I'm, you know, I'm mad at these people, because like I've played a huge part in, you know, setting myself up with this or something like that. Are you still having
Yeah.
trouble hearing me?
No, you're good. It's a little low, but I can hear you.
Okay.
Apparently, everybody else can hear you too because they're commenting and stuff like that. So we're all right.
Yeah, my boy Kyle Davis is on. He's a big part of my sobriety. A very good dude. He seen me coming in and out of the rooms, man. When I first, like, you know, I wanted to get sober, but like I just couldn't. And you know, he was there. He was very nice to me when I came into my first meeting and stuff. And I talked to him big time. That's my boy. I love you, Kyle. Um, we
And
got a,
be there?
yeah, I freeze up or anything?
Huh?
Did I freeze up?
No, you're good. At Susan says it's all ego, which, and she's right. I don't want to go anything Susan says. She knows what she's talking about, but it's all ego. But think about this: everything, in my opinion, is ego driven. Maybe there's some people that are not like ego driven, but everything is ego driven. That's why you want your clothes to match. That's why you want your haircut to look good. You want to be shaved up. You want to wear some nice watches. I got tattoos, whatever, and that's okay. That's why you want a brand new car with leather interior and nice and shiny on the outside, right? You know what I'm saying? Think about it. If you get a brand new I got a Pathfinder. If you get a brand new Pathfinder tomorrow, you're driving and it's got leather interior and all that, and you got TVs in the dash, you feel good, right? What if somebody keys the shit out of it tomorrow night and leaves scratch it? It's still leather interior, TVs, and you can drive it and do what you want to do. But why do the scratches bother you so much? It didn't affect the way the vehicle drives or nothing. It's ego. It's how other people see it. You see what I mean? How other people view it. My view of how important I am to the world. Does the scratches on the car say, people, I can't afford to fix it? You know what I'm saying? Or do I live in a bad neighborhood? Is that why my car is all messed up like that? Whatever. So it's all ego driven. Everything is ego driven, but keeping it in check is a big part of it, you know?
Yeah, man, definitely. So we got a lot of people on. If you guys want to ask some questions and stuff, you know, we can ask some questions and you know, get them answered. I got some more questions I can ask Sweasy. Um, so somebody asked me this question. I was really impressed with the question. She said, "How does the spiritual aspect of the program facilitate and sustain your sobriety?"
The spiritual aspect of the program, how does it facilitate and sustain my sobriety? That's a
Yeah,
really good question. The spiritual aspect, the way it was explained to me, do it the way your sponsor says or do it the way that you're being taught that works for you. But spirituality is this: humility plus responsibility. See, that's why it's not a religious program. That's why you don't have to believe in a particular entity or a particular God. When people hear spiritual program, they immediately think that it means something to do with religion. It doesn't, because spirituality is humility plus responsibility. Humility being how important do you view yourself to be, right? You know, being remaining humble. And then plus responsibility. It's everything to me, right? Remaining humble and being responsible is everything to me. I'll give you an example. This is a spiritual concept right here. But you ever go through your week and all of the stuff that you don't like to do piles up on you? I hate paperwork, right? I hate it. Sit down with a packet of paper like this from an insurance company or from my company that I work for. Like, bro, when I first signed on with this company, they must have sent me 10 packages of paper that were 60 pages long. And I was like, I'm not going to do this shit, right? Once that piles up, and what about like getting the tail light fixed on my truck, doing all of the paperwork that goes into my office, cleaning my fish tank, right? Taking my, just the, or like coming out here and fixing stuff in the yard and fixing stuff in the house that doesn't necessarily have to be done right now. See, I'm being irresponsible when I don't do that stuff, right? And it piles up on top of me. And I'll find myself sitting out here on a Monday, resentful, exhausted, tired, thinking about all this stuff I have to do, right? It still happens to me to this day all the time. So the responsibility, showing up at work on time. And for us, where I went through, early is on time. If you're supposed to be at work at 4 o'clock and you show up at 4 o'clock, you are late because you're not there and you're not ready. 3:45 is on time when you're supposed to be there at 4 o'clock, right? That's the way we got. That's how I made it to head chef at Macaroni Grill. Never been a chef in my life. I was the first one in, last one to leave, and I didn't complain about it. So you being humble, being happy with what you have, and being responsible. And when all of that stuff piles up on me throughout the week, imagine this. You're not keeping up with your paperwork. You're not keeping up with your yard work. You're not doing so good, and you're showing up late at work. And you got into an argument with your girl this morning before she went to work, and you didn't make your immediate amends. See, all of that's irresponsible, and all of that irresponsibility begins to pile up on me and causes me to bog down, be resentful, and it feels like depression, right? And so what I do, dude, I have a legal pad sitting over here with an ink pen, and I write down all of the shit that I don't want to do, right? And then I start going to do them as much as possible. And when I get tired, I take a break. And then the next day I come back to that list and I wipe that list out when I feel that way. The paperwork, the taxes, the whatever. I'll wipe that list out. And then immediately after putting in that action, I feel better. I feel relieved. My brain can stop processing all of this stuff that I feel like I'm behind on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So being spirituality, being humble, and like, I don't think I'm important, dude. Like, all right, I broke out on the internet and I broke my anonymity. I've got a nice size following going. I've got a great job. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't believe myself to be that important, right? It's something that so the humility piece of it, most people may have heard me say this on Recovery Radio before, have heard me talk about it. I have to call my sponsor, Johnny, whenever someone rolls up on me and says, hey, man, I love what you do. Can I have a photo with you? Will you sign this for me? Right? Or if somebody, God forbid, somebody used the word celebrity, right? I immediately have to walk around the corner and call my sponsor and be like, dude, that's not why I got into this. I'm not comfortable in a recovery setting with someone saying I'm some type of celebrity or something like that. We've been shared to the couch sharing group. Does the couch have Wi-Fi? You see the people in there? The couch sharing is the couch for sale. They don't bother me, dude. Hey, pump my algorithm up. Make me famous, dog. The humility piece of it, most people don't realize this, but I do have to call my sponsor and say, bro, I went to a convention. Every 5 minutes, somebody was stopping me, asking me for a photo, and I don't think I'm that important. And my sponsor's solution was simple. He said, can't you just say thank you and shake their hand and move on? So making a big deal of it turned out to be the thing I was doing that was not humble. You see what I mean? Making a big deal of it and going to my sponsor and saying stuff about it. So now when that happens, I just go, hey, man, thank you. I appreciate you. Love you. Give them a hug and I'm out. So to answer the question, the spiritual aspect of the program and of my program is everything to me after not using, right? But you have to look at it. Even spirituality covers that. Using is not responsible. Remember, humility plus responsibility. So using or getting high is not responsible, right? So it even covers that. But yeah, I hope that's an answer, dude. Like once I start talking, it's a wrap.
It's funny. Everybody's talking about the couch thing right now, and like I had somebody come over to do an interview, and I was worried about like doing it on the couch because I think it looks like the actual casting couch from that from the that porn site.
Oh, Pornhub. What, baby? My daughter came out. Say hi. Hi. Say hi, everybody. I'm Gracie. That's my little one. I see my buddy Rick Sizemore is in here watching. Marcus Myers says, spitting that fire. I appreciate you, dog. Does the couch come with free dirty needles? Absolutely. I know where all the free dirty needles are, dog. Go get your shine on, Hex. I love it. Hit the angry face for me, Hex. Get mad at me. Hey, Avery, please. That's tea, honey. You don't want that. It's tea. All right. Sorry, bro. My family's out here now.
It's all good. You got a beautiful family, Sweasy.
I know, bro. Like, how did my daughters end up? Like, my girlfriend's cute. My daughters are beautiful, and I'm third world ugly, dude. I just don't get it. It just happened that way. God doing for me what I couldn't do for myself, huh?
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. You know, I'm in you know, the situation with the girl I date. Like she's like kind of like a supermodel, and it's like it's fucking crazy. She won't call herself that, but like you know, she was on the cover of Playboy magazine, and now I'm dating her, and it's like
Huh?
I don't know how this happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How does that? Hey, it's a compliment though when somebody hits on your girl.
Yeah, right. But you know, what are some of your favorite gifts of sobriety, Sweezy?
Say again.
What are some of your favorite gifts of sobriety?
Oh, bro, like I gotta stand up, walk around for a second. It's hot out here where I'm at. Well, one thing I can tell you, and I was talking to somebody about this the other night. It's weird that you asked, but one of my favorite gifts, like, all right, when I was in the homeless shelter / recovery program down there in Louisville, Kentucky, my sponsor told me to write down a list of everything I would want within 1 year of being sober and everything I would want within 5 years of being sober. What would you want, right? Of course, sobriety's at the top. I want to remain sober. On my 5 year list, it said I would like to have my own vehicle, an apartment that had my name on the lease, right? And I would like to have my landscaping company back, okay? And I don't want to get too far into it, but I'm the owner of Sick Media LLC. I'm 50% owner of Digital Influence LLC. I'm an outreach coordinator at one of the best facilities on the planet called All In Behavioral Healthcare, or All In Behavioral Health. That's allinbehavioral.com. They have a location in Fort Lauderdale. And then Humble Beginnings up in Pennsylvania and Jersey, where some of the guys are in here watching right now. So the 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 rewards have been nonstop. Like you will sell yourself short if you try to list or talk about the rewards that you think you would want. Right? Like you said, dating a supermodel, dude. How did that happen? Right? You know what I mean? But the best, absolutely the best thing is this. Some people have heard me tell this story before, where I was at my cousin's house, right? And I'm sitting there, and I had been getting high for a couple days. I didn't have any money. My cousin was having a keg party, and he's got, you know, all these people over in his new house. He just had remodeled or whatever. And I went into the bathroom, and I was standing there, and I saw myself in the mirror. I saw how thinned out I was. Saw how horrible I looked, right, in the mirror. And he had one of those Kohler faucets. You know what I'm talking about, sticking out of the countertop. One of those.
Absolutely. I'm a plumber,
Uh,
so I know what a Kohler faucet is.
Yeah. Oh, you're a plumber. That's right. So you know the waterfall faucet? It's kind of wide, and you
Yeah,
turn it on, and the water kind of waterfall. It's beautiful, right? And I was sitting there looking at that faucet, and it dawned on me. I was like, bro, I can't even afford. Forget that he has a vehicle. I didn't have kids at the time. Forget that he has a vehicle, a house that he just remodeled, a boat, 2 jet skis outside, an R6 in the garage, a motorcycle. And he goes down to the lake every weekend and enjoys himself. He has money to spend. Forget all that. I can't even afford that damn faucet that's sticking up out of the sink right now. And then I went a step further in my head. I looked down and there's a cabinet door with a brand new little, I don't know, stainless steel knob on it. What are those, Johnny? $3? I don't know, something like that. Little
yeah.
knob. And I looked down, I thought about it. I was like, I can't even afford to replace that damn knob if I break it. $3. And so the reward, you asked me what's one of the biggest rewards or whatever, bro. Like, look, I put my kids to bed. I'm not worried about food. I'm not worried about the electricity being cut off. I'm not worried about the water being cut off or something like that. I'm not worried about where's the food going to come from next week like I used to in active addiction. I'm not calling my mother saying we're about to be out of food. And my daughters were born in sobriety, so I never had to do that. I would have. I'm not special. My addiction came before everything else, but not having to worry about the basics. You see what I mean? And if I did get in trouble, dude, if that was an issue, I've got real friends today that I could reach out to and ask for help through this fellowship. You know what I'm saying? I've got real people that I can say, hey, bro, I made a mistake, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to buy groceries this weekend or whatever. I got 10 people. Used to be 10 people wouldn't even talk to me. I couldn't get 10 people to come around me. Now I got 10 people that if I ask, they will drive me to the store and lay their credit card down and say, get whatever you want. You know what I mean? If it came to that. So I guess the big answer to the question, man, is security, bro. Like security with my family. You know what I mean? My kids don't want for clothes and food, heating and air. You know, check them out. They just out here. La la la, flying around. What you doing, baby? Well, yeah. And see, though I've never experienced this myself. You ever seen somebody, man, like on the internet or on a feed or on a post or whatever, where these people are knotted off in their car and there's a kid strapped in the back? You know,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't have to do that, bro. I don't have to live like that. That's my greatest gift, my greatest reward. My daughters are walking around without a worry in the world right now while Elena chops watermelon, bro. That's the best. Forget the house, forget the car, or the financial rewards and stuff like that. That's the absolute best thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Sweezy. Like me being comfortable in my own skin is like the biggest reward that I could ever ask for because that was always like a big problem, dealing with getting sober is like I remember my parents were asking me one time like why I kept doing drugs. And I said it just feels like my skin doesn't fit, and I was telling them and they didn't understand, it was wild, man. Like, and that's something I love about today is just being able to be comfortable with being me. Being able to drive certain places and not having to make a stop real quick because I don't feel all right or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean, man. That piece of being comfortable in your own skin, because I never was either. I didn't like the way I look. I didn't like the way I sound with my country accent or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I didn't like none of that. I always wanted to be somebody else, dude. And uh, to be in this position where I have a job and I'm the social media director at Digital Influence with what I do, to have that type of a job. Elena's dancing behind the camera. Y'all can't see her. Uh, to have that kind of job and things like that, where bro, like I don't know, I can wake up and I can be me. I can say what I want. I can get freaking sleeved out tattoo all the way up one side, down the other. I'm not worried about walking into a job interview whether somebody likes it or not. I get to be me 100%. Yeah, you know what yeah, I see that. You know what I mean, dog. I get to be me 100%, whether someone agrees with it or not. And here's the thing: if somebody doesn't like me, the way I talk, the way I look, or my tattoo, man, fuck them. And anybody that looks like them, I don't have to work for them. You know what I'm saying? I'm comfortable enough to walk down the street and get another job. I don't want to work for your ass anyway. Now, that's just me. Yes, daughter. Okay, go talk to your mama. All right, sorry, bro.
It's all good. Sweezy, I'm gonna ask you another question. So like back like when you were using and everything, was there a certain fear that you had of getting sober?
That's a really good question, man. I don't know if I had a fear of getting sober as much as I had a fear of the unknown. So I guess yes is the answer to your question, but it's a fear of the unknown, right? For me, uh, using drugs and alcohol, that's what I knew how to do, man. It's the only thing I was good at. You understand what I'm saying? Like when we show up at a party, I know how to roll a blunt. I know how to rig up. I know how to draw it up. I know how to cook crack all the way down. You know what I'm saying? That's what I know how to do, and I'm comfortable with that. I can get along in that environment, right? But look, putting on a suit and being the first person to show up at a company and work. I had a fear of my own self-reliance. That's not me. I wasn't programmed to be a good employee, if you will. That's what scared me, the fear of the unknown. And for me, and I'm sure you can understand this, the relationship that I had with my buzz, with drugs and alcohol, is very much like a relationship you have with your girl that I would have with my girl. You ever been in a bad relationship, right? But it took forever to break up with the person?
Yeah.
Why? Okay, because you got to split up now, find a new place to live. We need an extra bed. I need a couch. We got to split the TV. The fear of doing all of that work, it was just easier to stay, right? That's the way I felt about drugs and alcohol. It was just easier to stay. I know who has the dope. I know where the parties are at. I know how I can turn dope for free if I need it or whatever. The fear of standing up, the fear of the responsibility we were talking about earlier, right? The humility plus responsibility that is spirituality. The fear of that responsibility, a fear of my own self-reliance. I can't do this. I will mess it up. I will get fired. Nobody will hire me. That's what was slowing me down from getting sober, right? I know how to get high. I'm a pro.
Yeah, dude, I could definitely relate to that. I always had this enormous fear of being, of responsibility, actually. But, it's going through the steps and, listing our fears and stuff on our 4-step is like when we set them on paper, we actually work towards them, and it's a blessing now that I can pay my rent for my apartment. I can have, a good relationship with my girlfriend. I can show up to work on time. I could be a responsible, employee. I have pets that that depend on me that I have to feed and everything. Responsibility always scared the hell out of me. Like while I was in addiction, I couldn't even take care of a plant, dude.
Dude, yeah, that's what I was getting at. It's a fear of self-reliance, right? I don't believe in myself. Every job I'd had, I've been fired. I wasn't a good employee. I could square up and be a good employee for a period of time. But overall, like, I never kept a job for 5 years or 3, or, there's people been at their job. My mother worked at GE for 45 years or so. Are you kidding me? I got my 2 write-ups before the year is up. And they're like, if you get one more, you're fired, right? Then I go out and get wasted, and I know I'm going to get written up and get fired the next day, so I just don't show back up. Fear of my own self-reliance. And I think that's, you may have experienced this whenever you went through your treatment center or recovery center, wherever you went. You ever see these people that are scared to leave?
Yeah.
Right? So you get in there and you get into a free bed, a free recovery program. And I did the same thing. So I was scared to go in the place, right? I'm never going there. I'm not going inside a homeless shelter and living there or whatever, right? Then I went and stayed for a year, and I had a bigger fear of walking out of there. I didn't want to leave. And I see it all the time at the recovery center that Elena works at and that we work with, the free place here, probably at treatment centers too. I don't know. Some people are in such a hurry to get out that they don't do the program and they split on their, they just AMA, they leave, whatever. Okay. But the ones that actually do it, a lot of them get stuck, bro. They don't want to walk out of that homeless shelter or whatever. And it comes down to fear of self-reliance. That was my biggest one. Nobody's going to give me an apartment because I got a felony on my record. I'm not good at saving money, so I'm not going to be able to stay in a halfway and save up the money to make a deposit on an apartment. Like the $1,500 you got to put down up front. And then, or what about the down payment on a house? 20% of a $200,000 or 10% of a $200,000 house. That's 20 grand. How am I going to ever have a house? I can't save 20 grand and leave it sit in a bank account without acting a fool, right? Well, that proves different nowadays. You know what I mean? You can't really see it very well. That's the back of my house, but yeah. So that, fear of self-reliance is a big one for me. A big one for a lot of people, I believe.
Yeah, definitely a big fear of mine, man. Some of the other fears of getting sober, though, I mean, the whole thing of like the change aspect of it that you were talking about is like, I always thought I had like this great life of like, doing drugs and this and that. And I was so scared to change my life. You know what I mean? And I guess it falls under that fear of the unknown that you were talking about, man. But like I thought I had this great life of drug use and shit like that. But like I was so scared to change. But like, how easy it was to change my life of just sitting down with the book and doing the steps with somebody is what really made it easy, man.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, my daughters were yelling in my ear at the time. I couldn't hear you very well. But hold on. Give me 1 second, Johnny. My kids are following me around the yard yelling at me. I can't hear you.
Elena? Is my volume still real low?
It's kind of low, but it makes it. I've got 2 babies chasing me around the yard right now. So
yeah,
I'm sorry.
Problem like when I get on the live feed, bringing on the split screen, like your volume might be like real high and mine might be real low. So I'm like literally just like leaning towards my phone and yelling into it.
Well, maybe just do it where you don't do a split screen because I seem to have more luck with just bringing somebody in and just having them in the little window up at the top. Just invite them in and not do split screen. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I'm not sure how to do that exactly.
You just click on their profile picture and click invite to broadcast. This is the first time I've ever been on split screen.
Really?
Yeah. I just do it the other way. But so I'm sorry. What was the topic? Did you have a question or?
No, I didn't ask nothing again. But what can I ask you? So did you go through your amends and all that?
Oh yeah, I did all 12. What do you look at these girls do? Look, I don't know if y'all can see that. Oh, they're talking into my other camera that was meant to record me sitting here. They're doing an interview. That's what they'll tell me. I'm gonna let it record them. Why not? I might use that in a video later on. So yeah, you were asking about the amends process. Since we're talking about it, I'll tell you about prior to the amends process for the purpose of talking about the amends. Everybody wants to hit the fast forward button, right? Like as soon as you get into the facility or you get into detox or whatever, it's been my experience that most people want to hit the fast forward button. They want to go out and get a job. They want to run back to their family. I got to go fix this. I got to get my kids back. I got to whatever. So what I see is, the steps are a menu, not or a recipe, not a menu. You follow the recipe, not a menu where you just pick which ones you want off the menu and go on. It's a recipe. You have to follow the instructions. And the amends are at step 9 for a reason. They are down the list a little bit for a reason, because there's no good in making an amends if you don't have the behavioral change. Johnny left us. I'll talk to everybody though. There's no sense in making an amends unless you've had the behavioral change that takes place through steps. Well, you can call it 4 through 8, but so 4 was the searching and fearless moral inventory. That's where I made a roadmap of what makes Sweasy homeless. That's what 4 was. Then 5, I showed it to my sponsor. It says, admitted to God yourself into another human being. The human being part. I showed it to my sponsor. I said, here's the roadmap of what makes me homeless with a needle in my arm and gets me locked up, right? 6 and 7 is the behavioral change, where you work on your character defects and the shortcomings. The character defect was, the character defect is what's wrong with me. Like one of my character defects, for example, is I think like a criminal. So the shortcoming is how it manifests itself in your life. Therefore, my character defect, I think like a criminal. So one of the shortcomings, the way it manifests itself in my life, is that I'll think it's okay. I'll justify it and think it's okay to buy a couple ounces of Coke and flip them and sell them because I need money to pay the bills. You see what I mean? Like, and I'll justify it saying I'm doing the right thing because I need to pay my bills. So the character defect was, I think like a criminal. It manifests itself in my life by me saying I can flip these 2 ounces of Coke to try to pay my bills. So there's the shortcoming. Once you address that and you're not willing to go to any length anymore to have what you want. When I say that, like I'm willing to go to any length to get sobriety, right? But I'm not willing to go to any length to get this house. I'm not going to try to flip Coke to get this house. I'm not going to try to cheat on my taxes so I'll have extra money to pay for vacations or whatever I want. That's willing to go to any length to fulfill my character defects. I'm not doing that anymore. So once the behavior, and of course it says in the book, we're driven by 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-seeking, and self-pity. So there's 100 forms of it. You're not going to get it all the first time around, but you start to practice these principles. You try to work on the character defects and work on the shortcomings and try to do better every day at what you messed up on the day before. So once that behavioral change has taken place, then you're okay to go make an amends. That's why you don't make amends on the first week. Why you don't call people and say, I found God. Hey, look, I'm in the recovery center. Send me $50, whatever. You don't try to make the amends so early. You go through, build the roadmap, show it to your sponsor, work on not doing it anymore. Then you're clear to go make those amends. And quite simply, when I did my amends, my sponsor had me take a piece of paper and draw, or no, I'm sorry, that's step 3, index cards. You take out index cards and you write down the name of each person that you owe amends to on an index card. And it says in that step, it says, became willing to make amends to them all. Became, over a period of time, willing to make amends to these people. Doesn't mean you have to do them all at one time right there on the spot. So you take and write each person's name on an index card. You put a plus sign to the ones that you're willing to do right now. And you put a minus sign on the ones that you're not willing to do right now. The ones I was willing to do were my friends, my cousin, whatever, that I knew we were cool. I was willing to do those at that time, but I was not willing to go talk to my grandmother, my dad, or my mother. Those were the hard ones. But I became willing over a period of time. So I went and did all the ones that had minus signs on them, or that had plus signs on them. I'm sorry. The ones that I was willing to do right now. I went and did all of those. And then once I came back and I was, damn, that wasn't so bad. That wasn't, see, I became willing to move on to the next one. Like, well, maybe mom won't be so bad. Called my sponsor, did my little prayer, went and visited my mom, made my amends. You know, became over a period of time. You don't have to do them all to complete, at least the way we do it. You don't have to do them all at step 9 because it says you don't want to text in your amends or just call somebody and force an amends on them. You want to make an amends. It says in there, wherever possible, not whenever. If it was whenever possible, I could call somebody right now and make an amends to them. Those long-standing amends of people that I'd harmed over a long period of time, it was wherever possible. And the way that happened, I was at a family reunion, and my dad was there and my grandmother. And my higher power presented to me an opportunity to make an amends to those people because my dad was sitting on a swing. There was nobody else around. See, it happened wherever possible. I didn't call him and force it on him. I saw him at the family gathering. I made my amends, and then later on the same swing, it happened with my grandmother. She sat down next to me, and I had the opportunity to make an amends to her. That makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like, you know, it's like going through the process and like getting used to, you know, getting ready to, you know, like you said, making yourself willing. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, you have to become willing. And I wasn't willing to deal with that at that time, and that's not a failure. You see what I mean? Because I was not willing at the time. I was like, bro, I'm not fit. I'm not down for it. I don't feel like talking to my dad right now or whoever it was. I don't feel like doing that right now. So I was not willing to do it all right up front. I became willing, like it says in the became, over a period of time. That's what it says right at the beginning of it. You know, my sponsor and I were very big on words and definitions and things like that and paying attention to what we're reading. So it said became over a period of time, and I was okay with that. So it took a little while. You know what I mean? If you're still living in a homeless shelter and you're still exerting the same shitty behavior as before, what good does it do to call your grandmother and make an amends to her if you haven't corrected it yet? And then the way to uphold the amends is to not repeat the behavior anymore, which I practice. You know what I'm saying? I'm not perfect.
Yeah, it says practice these principles in all our affairs. But you know, perfection. What does it say? Progress, not perfection, right? Like we're not saints. We're not gonna, you know, do this right away. Like we're actually like, you know, we're ex-drug addicts, we're ex-criminals trying to just live a better life. You know, we're not going to be perfect right away.
Yeah,
So,
that's you got to be careful with that saying though, Johnny, because it don't. I talk about it on my page a lot. People would use that term loosely, progress, not perfection, because it's like, oh, you know, I went out to the concert this weekend, or I went to the mall and tore the mall down and spent $500, but my electricity just cut off. Say, if you got brand new Jordans on and your electricity's getting cut off, that's not, you can't go, oh, it's progress, not perfection. No, that's just stupid, right? So it says in the book, we claim spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection, right? So I claim spiritual, humble, humility plus responsibility, progress rather than spiritual perfection. That my sponsor put that one on me one time when I used that to try to get out of a situation.
yeah, you can't use it, you know, to downplay yourself or something like that, you know.
Molly's in the comments. She said something about made amends, but she still brings it up constantly. Guess what? It's your responsibility to not put yourself in that situation anymore. That's the spiritual part of it. Spiritual sounds all warm and fluffy and all that type of stuff, but check this out. My father and I have a relationship that goes like this. I can't talk to him. He's a businessman. He's a very successful businessman, but I can't talk to him about my business. I can't talk to him about my companies that I own or operate or whatever because he wants to get all involved and tell me what to do. So I don't talk about that. When we talk on the phone, it's about the kids. It's about how our day is going or whatever, but I do not bring up business stuff. And for your own emotional sobriety, if it bothers you, Molly, you might not be able to go around that person anymore and tell them why. Like, I made an amends. And the question, but I don't know, Molly, did the behavior change? Are you still exerting the behavior that reminds them of what you used to do? So is that why they bring it up all the time? Because of how you're acting? I don't know. That's something I would question, though.
Right on. Yo, Sweasy, so there's you know, a lot of people talk about like a time limit of like how long it takes to get through the steps and stuff like that. How long did you take to get through like all your steps?
9 months through all 12. And mine were laid out for me by the facility I was in. You could not move on to step one until you know, we had when you get to step 5 and you do your 5th step, you drop your 5th step with your sponsor. My sponsor had to call it into the center and sign off on a piece of paper saying, yes, he did his 5th step with me. Like, they keep track of your step work. You know what I'm saying? So the process we went through took 9 months. I know some other people that have been clean, sober, whatever you want to call it, for 4 years, and they're on step 6. And I'm just like, for me, that's not going to work for me, man. I need to get through them, and then 10, 11, 12 are maintenance steps, dude. Whenever you mess up and you fail to use 6 and 7, or you mess up in your life, I do 10, 11, 12, 10, 11, 12. So I need to, with my sponsees anyway, I need to get you through it. I don't force anything, but being at 4 years and still being on step 6 or something like that, that makes no sense to me. That means you have not made an amends to people. You have not had a behavioral change. After 4 years, that sounds miserable to me. What? Dinner's ready. Okay.
Yeah, Paul Covert said my sponsor would even let me start my steps till 1 year. You know, to me that kind of blows my mind, because where I got sober, you got people coming to sit down with the big book like right after we get through physical withdrawal, man. Like, we want to, you know.
Oh yeah. Dude, they tell us the way I was taught. And look, if that's fine, if that's the way you enjoy it, that's the way your sponsor wants you to do it, take the advice of somebody that has long-term sobriety. I'm not saying anybody's wrong. But what I am saying is this. I was taught that you can do the first 3 steps in 30 seconds. And if it takes you 30 seconds, you may have wasted 20 of them, right? Because admitting that you're powerless, right, and that you're unmanageable, that's simple. Something's wrong with me. And if you can really arrive at that. If you believe in something greater than yourself, if you believe in Jesus, or I believe in nature, that's my higher power to this day or whatever. Step 2. Step 3, turn your will over. I was taught how to do that very simply. You know, and at the time, the way turning my will over was to follow the instructions at the homeless shelter. Out. You know what I mean? So I was taught you can do the first 3 in 30 seconds. And then, you know, you don't have to do it that way. It's not everybody. But waiting an entire year. See, we got this term that we use called dry periods, dry drunkenness, or a dry addict or something like that. If you don't start this is just my opinion. Don't do what I say, do what works for you. But if you don't start for a full year, that's a year of dry time. That is just dangerous, dude. Well, where does the behavioral change come in? Where does the work on yourself, the inventory, the looking at the 4-step inventory and finding out, here's, like I called it earlier, the roadmap to what makes me homeless. Here's the stuff that I do wrong. Now, I'm going to practice not doing it anymore and making amends to people as I mess up. If you're not starting that process for a year, really looking at yourself, what are you doing in that year? What else do you do? What, go to work and be fucking miserable? That's just me, though. Like, I'm not saying anybody, don't take that as I'm attacking anybody. I'm talking about myself. I would have been miserable. Oh,
yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, there's a big debate on, like, you know, how long it takes to go through the steps and all that. And, like, you know, I choose to, you know, just stay my part of, like, you know, whatever works, man. Like, however long it takes you to get sober, at least you're working on yourself, man, you know?
And, you know, I think if you debate about it, like, I'm just giving my experience. That's what I think. But I won't argue with anybody over it. You know what I'm saying? But if you debate about it, you're by nature focusing on the problem and not focusing on the solution. You know what I'm saying? The solution is mind your own, call your sponsor, and don't worry about what somebody else is doing. That's just my experience on what I feel about it. But if that guy that was commenting in there, if they want to wait a year and that's what works, cool. You know, it's all good. Do you, son. I'll do me. That's it.
Yeah, right on. And just try to, you know, just everybody's, you know, story of getting sober is a lot different, man. Like, it's not a one size fits all program. A lot of people get clean and sober a lot different ways than a lot of other people get clean and sober. So, like, you know, whatever works, man, is, you know, whatever's beneficial, you know, especially keeping the needle out of your arm. Like, you know, if you got to go on, you know, the maintenance substitute programs and stuff like that. You know, I used to debate them for years of the maintenance substitutes of, like, Suboxone and methadone and stuff, of, like, you know, them not being the full solution and shit like that. But, like, I'd sit here and be like, I'd be all for a safe injection site, but, like, I'm against, you know, Suboxone and methadone that totally takes the needle out of your arm. You know, it's crazy, but, like,
I'm not. I know I got to go here in just a minute, Johnny. She just brought dinner in, but we can do this again later on too. But I'm for safe injection sites because there's a way there to expose addicts to another solution when they come in to exchange their needles. You go, bro, hey, if they're doing it right, the clinician in there or the person doing the exchange can be like, bro, you don't have to do this no more. I got help for you right down the street. You can live like I live. You know what I'm saying? That exposes them to more solution. But as far, I've never been against Suboxone and methadone. In my earlier videos I was, but I was misconstrued. I'm not against the use of it, right? I'm against the misuse of it. People telling someone that they need to be on it for the rest of their life. People telling someone that taking a kid that's 19 years old that won't stop smoking weed and putting him on Suboxone like they will do at some of these clinics. Telling people they're not allowed to taper off when you walk into their clinic and you're on 30 milligrams a day. And you say, you know what, man? I want to go down. I want off this stuff. And they go, no, we're not letting you go down. You can go up if you don't feel good, but you can't go down. The misuse of it, they should be in fucking prison. You know what I'm saying? But if it keeps the needle out of your arm and that's what you choose to do, hey, you're welcome on my page. You're welcome to talk to me. I would sit in a meeting with you, whatever. I'm here when you're ready. It's attraction. That's what it means, attraction, not promotion. The attraction of, it always perturbed me, Johnny. Like, we'll sit in a meeting or we'll sit in a group and say, if someone comes in and they're missing teeth and they got track marks all up their arm and they're bleeding and they got hep C and HIV, oh, we love you, brother. We want to help you get better, right? But if they walk in on Suboxone, it's like, oh, you're fucking doing it wrong. That is backwards. Anytime somebody reaches out, I am responsible to help them. You know, whether they're on Suboxone, methadone, or they've been slamming heroin for the last 20 years, I'm accepting of that person, and they are welcome around me, around my page, around my meetings, or whatever. You know, but for the grace of God, there go I, right?
Yeah, awesome. Sweasy, thanks for coming on with me, man. I know you got your dinner ready.
Yeah, it's a real pleasure, man. Let's we'll link up and do it again. I'm sorry I didn't want to cut it short or anything like that, but I've got another way that I'll show you to do these broadcasts. If you got a computer, I'll show you another way to do it where it's clear, crisp, and you can switch out the backgrounds and stuff like that, and it's free. I'll show you how to do that.
Okay.
Cool.
Right on. Thanks for coming on.
All right. Hey, brother. Appreciate you, man. Later.
Hey, bud. So we just had Sweasy on, and it was pretty cool, man. But I'm gonna shut it off. I've been on this page so much today, dude. I really haven't done much else. You know, I've been doing just a lot of internet sobriety type things. But if you're new to my page, like my page. There's a button right up here. When I end the video, it's going to say turn notifications on. I do live videos all the time. I usually got people on the split screens and stuff. So hit that button right there.